This video is going to be on how to hook up solar panels to the 12-volt power pack. We'll go over just a little bit, just the basics on the different types of solar panels. There's 3 different types. Basically, the first one is the kind of like them ones at Harbor Freight. It's called the thin film solar panels. They're the least efficient solar panel. This one, for instance, is 1.5 watts. So basically, is all this is good for is they look nice, but basically is all this small one would be good for is holding a charge to maintain your battery. It will charge it up somewhat, but it'd be good for maintaining the battery. The next one would be your polycrystalline solar panels. They're the second most efficient. They're getting better and better. You know, some of the manufacturers are just as efficient as the monocrystallines, and that's the third type. It would be the monocrystalline. Your polycrystallines are the second least expensive to produce. Your thin films are the least expensive to produce, and then your monocrystalline are the most expensive. Although nowadays I'm finding if you look hard enough, you can buy the monocrystallines for about the same price as your polys. So this particular polycrystalline is 15 watts. So you can see how small and light and portable it is compared to 1.5 watts of the Harbor Freight. I mean, it's just about the same size, but you're getting a lot less wattage out of the thin film. They are building these thin films on like a piece of material that you can roll up. So one of the advantages of so it's a little more mobile with the roll-up type, but you still have to have a larger area to put it down with the thin film. One of the other advantages of thin film is they work a little better on a cloudy day. It works a little better than both mono or poly, so on a cloudy day. The polys are the ugliest looking ones. If you can see, there's kind of a thin piece of plastic over top of this, but you can see it's kind of an inconsistent purplish ugly color. So if you see that, it's a poly solar panel. The thin films look alright. This one's dirty, but they're more consistent, a more consistent color. The monos, they have this diamond shape, and that's how you can identify that it's a mono solar panel. This particular is the mono. This one is 20 watts. It's very easy to move around. I like the monos the best. They're small and easy to take with you. Just 2 of these make up about what the 45 watt kit that you can buy from Harbor Freight, and I have that outside. I'll take you and show you and that's the thin film, the 45 watt. But it is so big, bulky, and heavy. I would never want to take it with us camping or anything. I'd much rather take 2 of these. It'd be a lot less hassle and easier to move around. These are more efficient. So they take up a lot less area for the same amount of wattage. For this video, hooking up to the 12-volt power pack, I'm going to just talk about the monocrystalline panel here. Usually on the back they have stamped the ratings. The most important one is like your short circuit. This is 1.19 amps. Your wattage, which would be 20 watts. This is a 12-volt panel. They make 48 volts and larger. The reason they make higher voltages is so you can use smaller wires. And you can have 48 volt battery banks. But if you don't want to hook a 48 volt solar panel to a 12 volt battery, they also make 24 volt solar panels, which you could hook to a 24 volt battery bank, but you wouldn't want to hook it to a 12 volt battery. Also on here you have your optimum operating current, which would be 1.11 amps. That's if it's connected to a battery. You have your optimum power voltage, which is 18 volts, and that's if it's connected to a battery. You want to have higher voltage. This is a 12 volt, but it says it's 18 volts because in order to charge a 12 volt battery you need higher than 12 volts because the 12 volts will push back. So this would charge it up to 18 volts. If it's not connected to a battery, then your open circuit voltage is 22.6 volts. So just because it says 22.6 volts doesn't mean it's a 22.6 volt solar panel. This is a 12 volt solar panel for charging 12 volts. This is a poly. This only puts out 12 volts, so I couldn't use it to charge a 12 volt battery. Because all this is for, I bought this a while back. I just bought this for, this will charge like your small cell phones batteries with the sun. You can hook it up directly to a cell phone or your laptops. But I wouldn't want to hook it to this 12 volt power pack because it won't charge it. It's only putting out 12 volts. This particular unit, if you've watched my other videos, will handle up to 10 amps. And I kind of explain it in some of the other videos I did, and why it's only 10 amps. So my open circuit is 1.19 amps, so we're well below the 10 amp capacity. You want to make sure you want to stay within that 10 amps, even when you're hooking up a solar panel. So we have 1.9 amps. .19 amps. So if you took 10 amps, which is the capacity of the power pack, and divide it by 1.19, you could put about 8 of these panels on, which that would be a little overkill, but that's what it would be. You know, to be safe, I would figure the most you'd ever want to put on this would be 120 watts of solar panel power, because 12 times the capacity, 10 amps, 12 volts times 10 amps equals 120 watt. if you had a 120 watt solar panel and hooked it into this, you know, you could, and that would be 10 amps, you could charge this thing in like an hour and a half. It's always better to trickle charge though with these small lead acid batteries. Your battery will last longer. So with this 1.19 amps, and that's in full sun too, so you could figure a half an amp per hour for maybe, as long as the sun's out, you know, 5 to 8 hours. So it'd take you a couple days with this 20 watt panel to fully charge this if it was totally discharged. The way you want to figure the cost is of these solar panels, to figure out your cost is by the watt. So this is a 20 watt and it costs $43. So 43 divided by the cost divided by the watts is about, you know, right around $2 per watt. Now I don't know why they say the thin film is the least expensive, because you can buy these monos for a lot cheaper. I figured the 45 watt kit, if you buy it, it's about $150 from Harbor Freight, and that's if you have a coupon. That comes up to about $3 a watt. So I picked this up on the eBay for $43, and it's a lot less bulky and easy to handle. I picked the 20 watt because it's pretty compatible to the power, the 120 volt power that you plug into this. This is a half an amp power supply that charges this battery. The advantage to the power supply is it'll charge the full time. This solar panel only charges when the sun's out, so. But it's pretty compatible. This is, you know, about 1.19 amps, so it'll charge it in about the same time as this power supply will charge. If the sun's out, this will charge, you know, a couple days, and this power pack, 120 volts plugged in, will take a couple days to charge if it's fully discharged. So that's why I went with the 20 watts. You could get a couple of these too to cut your time down, but it's going to cost a little more. So this is only $43. Now when it's hooked to the battery, this will be your optimum operating current. It's going to be 1.11 amps. So that's when you have it hooked to the battery. Your short circuit's 1.19 when it's hooked to a battery, of course, because you have your 12 volts battery pushing back. The operating is going to be about 1.11 amps. Another thing you're going to need is a charge controller. With these sealed lead acid batteries, they're a lot more temperamental than like your regular car batteries, because they're sealed. There's no place for the gas to escape, so when you're charging them, you know, they're a little more sensitive. You don't want to overcharge these batteries. They'll expand, and you know, they could start a fire. So you need a charge controller. What this does is shuts the solar panel off, so it's not charging when it reaches a certain voltage. This particular one I picked up off eBay. It was only $12.50, so they're not too expensive, and you really need to have one of these if you're going to be using solar to charge your battery. For safety, get one that has, you know, overload protection if you have too much load going in, short circuit protection if you short circuit, reverse discharging protection so the battery don't discharge, This one has protection from lightning strike, under voltage protection. You don't want not enough voltage, it shuts off, and your, of course, overcharging protection. This particular one will work with 6-volt batteries, 12-volt batteries, or 24-volt battery banks. On 12 volts, if the battery drops below 10.8 volts, this will shut off the load. You can actually hook up a load to this, like a light bulb or whatever you have, and it'll shut that off if the battery drops below 10.8 volts. This power pack, you can check your voltage by just pushing a button. You don't ever want your voltage to go down below 12 volts. You know, preferably around 12.2 volts. Then your battery's totally drained. If you drain it too much, it'll ruin your battery. One of the other important factors with charge controllers is you want to make sure you have the right amps. This one's 10 amps, so it's compatible with this 10 amp unit 12 volt power pack I have here, and the way it's designed. So we have 10 amps. I could hook up to 10 amps of solar panel to this charge controller here. You know, it's pretty easy to wire. Just read the directions. You have your solar panel plus and minus that hook up to where it's supposed to, and then your plus and minus, which goes to your battery. And what I did is hooked on a Radio Shack easy connection, coaxial connection, so I can plug it directly into the power pack real easy with the same connections I have right here. So basically this will be just connecting to the plus and minus of the battery when I plug it in, and of course your solar panel hooks up to the plus and minus solar panel, and then you can hook up a light or whatever, just a small load to here, but I won't be using that. I'll be using my power pack to hook things to. Fully charged lead acid battery is 14.4 volts. So once it's 14.4 volts, this will shut off. If you go over that, you could damage the battery that's inside here. So this control charger will shut it off once it reaches 14.4 volts on a 12 volt battery. You know, there's a lot of information to go over on these solar panels. I'm just going over the basic information. You should read a little more. Read and read and read before you do anything, but hopefully I'm giving you just some of the basic information that you need to know. Another factor you'll want to know and read about is your wire gauge, which would be the most important factor is the distance from where it connects to the solar panel to where you're going to be plugging in. Now, for instance, there's these. You can look up these charts. See if I can get that to focus. You can look up these charts for 5 amps, 10 feet. You can have 18 gauge wire, 15 feet, 16 gauge. I have 14 gauge, so I could go about 20 feet, and the distance would be, this is 3 foot long to my control charger, so really it's 6 because you have to add the two wires, the positive and negative wires. So this would be 6 feet, and then the distance from here where you plug in to where you plug into your power pack. You have to add that. So we'd have 6, and then another 3 foot long extension cord I have here So that's another 3 foot. So you take it times 2, 6. So we got a total of 12 feet that I would be running. So I'm safe. This is only 1 amp, so actually I could make it longer. But if you're going to be adding more panels, you're going to be adding more amps. So it's important that you have the right gauge wire. If you're going long distances, you're best off to have as short of wires as possible, especially when you're using larger solar panels. So again, if you're if you're running 50 feet of this small gauge cord to a solar panel, you're going to melt the wires and you could cause a fire, and it's just very dangerous. So try to stay as close as you can to plug into your power packs. With this we're 1 amp, so we're fine. We could go even longer than 18 feet as I showed you on the charts, but just read about your wire size. I'm just giving you basic information that you need to know. So we'll show you how to hook it up. I have the solar panel. It's kind of a cloudy day, but we got the solar panel in the window. Of course, that's hooked up like I showed you. Positive, negative. And as you can see, it's the LED charge light is on. The load would be if I had a load connected down here, which I'm not going to do, but I'll hook the cord on now and plug it into the power pack. Okay, we plugged it in and we have the extension cord plugged in. Make sure you got to turn this to on since it's connected to the switch. And as you can tell, the green light for the load is on, which says there's power going to it. And it also will tell you the battery charge. Once the third light's lit, it's fully charged. And the solar panel, it'll shut off the power to the solar panel. It's easy as that. You can plug this. This is going to the positive, negative to the battery. Pretty simple. It is now charging the power pack with the sun. Hopefully I showed you the basics. Do your own due diligence. A little bit of reading. Now you know what to read about. Thanks for watching, everyone. Be safe.